Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Vines. Dan Mackey here from the Little Grape, TC Fraser distributing, as always, our wine connoisseur.
You're the producer. I'm the cork puller.
Yeah, that's what you do. We have roles here. So
play your role, right?
Know your role. So as everybody's kind of loading in and everything, we have a crazy awesome show in store for you tonight, and that is partly because these wines that we're tasting, I mean, everything pretty much except for one wine under $15, and we're going to have some giveaways to give out during the show as well. So we have a lot in store and great wines, great wines. We sell a lot of this in the shop, so you're going to definitely love these wines. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk about really quickly, if you're logging in and you want to see your comment up on screen, all you have to do is head and once you do that, we can put your comments up on screen. So if you have questions for our special guest tonight, we can have those questions come up. So again, head over to streamyard.com/Facebook, and they'll be able to do that. Also, we are still almost done, but it's still until November.
Tonight, people are going to be pretty close.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Pretty much over.
They're over. There's a lot of people, but you can start getting your hats, and you can either give them away as gifts during the holidays or something else. You keep them for yourself, and then we'll move on to the next thing, which is going to be a zip-up hoodie, and those won't be in until kind of mid-December. But you can at least start on getting that opportunity. So we have folks here. It's time to get to a couple of other quick little housekeeping things. I still have spots available for our champagne tasting on December 13th. It's in 3 different time blocks in the shop, so we can social distance and keep under our cap. So that's noon to 2 to 4, 4 to 6. So when you check out on theloadedgrape.com, you can sign up for that. We have 2 different levels of tasting. We have a regular tasting and we have a reserve level tasting. And that reserve level tasting, if you've never tasted Dom Perignon, it's in the tasting. Bollinger, it's in the tasting. Paul Roger, Brut, in the tasting. So these are brands in that reserve tier that you just don't get everywhere, and so treat yourself if you want to do that. Or we have room in the regular tasting, which has great stuff. Moët Chandon. It has.
If it's champagne, it can't.
It has Tattinger. It has Veuve Clicquot. It has Nicolas Fuente. So it's got great champagne in it as well. So just wanted to let you guys know about that, and also kind of we'll tease next week as well. Next week we are going to do a little show with Egal. So we're heading to France. We're going to have Christophe joining us, the importer for these wines. So there you go.
But probably won't be able to get them the Hawaiian shirt. I mean,
no Hawaiian shirts. Pastel Hawaiian shirts.
The weather's down because of our special guest tonight that we have for tonight.
And let's bring him on camera.
Mr. Steve
Hedberg.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. Gentlemen, nice to be here.
Glad you can make it. Glad you can join us. We look forward to having a fun. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. I did break out from the Hawaiian collection. Went ahead and got the holiday stuff out. Some poinsettias.
You got for all seasons and all occasions, man. I like it.
Even into the holidays.
Love
it. Well, guys, just not that it means some of the people watching, obviously you guys know me, know Danny, but just to kind of let you guys know, I'm like, what does TC do? Well, I try to be the conduit, for people like the Loaded Grape and Great Brand. And some brands I say sell themselves, and some brands are ones that you don't see out and about. So I think tonight we're going to do 2 brands that we get to carry that personify that. And Steve Hedberg, I gotta say, brings the best things to meetings when we used to have in-person meetings and barbecue from Lexington Barbecue. So definitely beats the leftover hoagie sandwiches that sometimes people would roll in from Harris Teeter's and stuff like that. So just thrilled to have Steve tonight talking about some fantastic wines that, quite frankly, a couple of these pay the light bill trying. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
That's all right.
These are popular wines, and one thing I would say about both of these are family-owned wineries. They're made with a lot of TLC. There's no shortcuts involved. Peirano Estate is in Lodi, and it's 100% estate fruit from a winery that's over 100 years old. Bogle is about an hour north of there, just south of Sacramento. Most of you have seen that. It's become a pretty large winery, but it has a great history as well, and they recently celebrated their 50th harvest. So both of these are multi-generation wineries operated by the 5th and 6th generation, respectively. Not an uncommon story in California, but still one that deserves our respect, that people live on the land and produce these things for our table. One thing that they both have in common as well, other than being family-owned, is they're both inland. These aren't from Napa and Sonoma County. These are a little bit inland, still in areas cooled by the Pacific, but between those coastal valleys and the Sierras. So you get coastal influence, you get these complex soils, but you don't have the very expensive real estate that's involved in the coastal counties. So I guess the theme for tonight, let's get some Sauvignon Blanc in your glass, but I like to think of these as Tuesday night wines. My definition of a Tuesday night wine is, something that's 10, 12, 15, 18 bucks. And you can pull it out with no guilt anytime. Drink half of it. If you don't finish it, don't sweat it because you only paid 12, 15 bucks for it. You'll go to a lot of holiday tastings and everyone pulls out the big guns and yeah, for gifts, you want to sell, the distributor and the retailer would like to sell more expensive wines. But, Tuesday night comes in November and December too. And when you got a house full of guests, it's nice to have some really exceptional wines that you didn't pay $50 for, so that when your relatives get into the refrigerator or get into your wine rack, you're not out so much. So Bogle, we have 3 wines from each of these wineries. So we're starting with Bogle Sauvignon Blanc. I have 2 whites. So from Bogle, I've got a Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc in general, the appeal for most people is the cut grass, very fresh aspect of it. It's sort of the gin of wine. You're looking for the botanical flavors essentially in Sauvignon Blanc. And I'm sure a lot of you enjoy New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, but this, there's some wonderful expressions of Sauvignon Blanc all over California, and they're a little bit perhaps less appreciated. This is so refreshing. The way that it's made is with no oak. You want to capture with Sauvignon Blanc, as I said, the appeal is in these floral and grassy elements. And you don't want to introduce wood into that to interfere with those very fine, natural, fresh flavors. So this is just fermented in stainless steel. And then the additional technical aspect is it's treated in an anaerobic environment. In other words, they'll keep oxygen. A lot of times wineries, they'll pump things over and introduce oxygen into there to control different aspects of the fermentation. They strive for very little oxygen to get in before bottling to preserve the fresh flavors of the Sauvignon Blanc. So it's such a refreshing wine, great cocktail wine, doesn't need food. And I don't know how much you guys selling this for. It's always a value.
Come right to the bit. There you go.
He's going right there.
It's going to say what's a porch pounder. I mean,
it kind of ties in with my fact. Like they didn't have to buy the oak barrels. They didn't have to age it for an extended period of time. And so these wines that not to put you on the spot about the price, but Sauvignon Blanc in general can offer great value because those expensive factors in wine production, i.e. the aging time, the oak barrels, are not necessary to make an excellent example of a Sauvignon Blanc. And in fact, often would be counter to making a great example of a Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
What do you guys,
Yeah.
what are you guys thinking?
Steve, I've been doing this, certainly not as long as you, but long enough to have gotten a few, isms. And I got to say the botanical or the gin of wine. I like that, man, because that's Sauvignon Blanc, man. It's like, it's got all the botanicals. I mean, anybody that loves gin, sometimes we even relate because us, we sell beer. And I say, hey, people that like sour beer, or people that only like, white wine may like sour beer or vice versa. So high acid, very floral, but it's very smooth. I mean, clean, crisp, super drinkable. And again, this is one of those where I like to brown paper bag because, Bogle's one of those wines where, I won't say they're a victim of their own success, but you got some of the folks that are like, oh, well, I've seen this here or there. Well, I'm like, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think the wine business is one of those few businesses where almost have something to call somebody down the road has it. And I'm like, well, come on, guys. But, Bogle, I'm telling you, for my independents, my restaurants that taste it, absolutely love it, and they crush it because their customers know it. They're comfortable with it. Steve knows I think we did a burger and Bogles thing in the past with certain restaurants, and they came up and like, what, I never thought it would do as well as it did. And then, but they do great margin for them, and again, the customers are happy too. So.
Again, Tuesday night wine, it fits in with the theme. Sometimes it's helpful to be a winery that has some economy of scale to introduce these to you at a good price point. I should say a little bit about, you guys have all seen these, label somewhere or another, Bogle. It's got kind of distinctive, but before we move on to this Peirano Chardonnay, just to say a little bit, this family is magnificent. It's the 6th generation in it now, and it's 2 brothers and a sister, all, in their early 40s, and they were raised on this property. 2 of them still live on the farm. It's a true farm family. They put on, one of them does the agriculture, puts on the boots, goes out there every day, oversees all the farming. They farm themselves over 1,000 acres in the California Delta. And, it's sort of rare. Most people, when they think about California agriculture or winemaking in general, they think about a family that gets up and lives on the land and goes out, and it happens less often than you'd think. With the wine that's offered to you in most channels, is not like that. And even though it's a pretty big winery, it is just like that.
Well, and we don't want to. I think you kind of buried the lead, but the sign behind you says it all: Winery of the Year. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we are. Bogle is currently kind of finishing their year where Wine Enthusiast named them Winery of the Year. So some very august company there of some wonderful wineries that are in that group: Joseph Phelps, J. Lohr, Wente, some wonderful family properties, Paul Meyer one year. So some large, some small, but all exhibited the finest aspects of the industry. So Bogle's just finishing up their year as Winery of the Year, as declared by the Wine Enthusiast. And so they're very proud of that. They're also, should mention, one of the greenest wineries on the planet, especially considering their scale. But the entire winery is carbon neutral. They have the entire place is covered with solar panels. They're getting their permits for a wind machine to complete the process of being completely neutral. In their agriculture, they're got all their green certifications and hold all their growers that they deal with to the same standard. So they've really changed a lot of the face of the area that they're in, and some other areas of the state where they buy grapes in large amounts. So they're very proud of that.
Yeah.
Pointing out Clarksburg. Clarksburg is the little town that Bogle's located in, and there is a sugar mill that has 8 wineries that use the sugar mill for their processing facility, and Bogle's just up the road from there. And Bogle has a really nice tasting room. All this stuff is along the Sacramento River, which is one secret to their success is you get these cool breezes. Everyone thinks of we've all probably been to San Francisco and the Bay and the fog and the huge nocturnal diurnal temperature swing, but those breezes and that weather comes up the river. The 2 rivers, San Joaquin and Sacramento River, form the bay, and so all that weather comes up in the nighttime into those valleys along the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers. And so Bogle gets a lot of pretty steep temperature changes day to night, and that's part of the reason for the quality of the grapes they grow themselves. They're not shy about buying really high quality grapes from other areas to accent their own, to bring you the best product. That Sauvignon Blanc you have has a big dose of Monterey Sauvignon Blanc, same vineyard site that Morgan and some other people that sell pretty expensive wine get their Sauvignon Blanc. So anyway, you guys, you want to step into the Chardonnay?
Yeah.
Well, before we get there,
right?
Yeah, so I just want to let everybody know they can head over to theloadedgrape.com, order any of these online. Actually, in one moment, you can start ordering these online.
Before Thanksgiving.
I need to up the quantities.
We have plenty of everything. We made sure tonight we have ample.
I did not do that before the show started, so I will go on in a second here and update the inventory so you can do that. But down to $12 plus your club level discounts. So use your coupon code at checkout. So if you're in the Cellar Club, State Club, or Reserve Club, put that in, and you'll get your club level discounts on top of these. Which is
since you got your sales hat on, I'll tell you, since you got that Winery of the Year sign, I have some of these really special corkscrews that we made, a special edition to say. Let's see if I can get up there. Winery of the Year.
Oh yeah,
very nice corkscrew, and did a case. These are like $20 or more retail corkscrew, and I'm going to throw you a dozen of these, and you can meter them out to people however you want.
Well, I think you said it. You order a case, you're going to get a corkscrew.
There you go.
There it is. So if you order a case, you're going to get a corkscrew, so you can mix and match. But you got to get to a case, and at these prices, we're not. It's not like we're going to hurt the bank tonight.
That comes in a nice box. There's your, if I really want to become like over that channel on TV, like nice stocking stuffer here.
Well, and I'll say it too. I mean, since we're actually not going to taste it tonight, but since Steve does Juggernaut, as you can see,
we're going to talk about that.
We'll go ahead and say, and I won't misspeak
here. We
but,
already covered that.
But if I was going to say anything case wise for the corkscrew, Juggernaut could be included. So they want a couple Bogle.
Juggernaut has its own thing.
Okay.
Me and Steve talked to. See, this is what happens when you show up late, TC.
Okay, so but I do want to say before we swing on to the Peirano, and I'm sure Steve, you'll talk a little bit more about it. You talked about scale and just in Bogle. If I'm not mistaken, in one of those meetings, again, I was probably a little bit too much barbecue, a little bit maybe too much Bogle, but I think you said something along the effect of the mom who just recently passed away, who owned the winery. It was like the largest winery in the Northern Hemisphere owned by a female or something like that. I thought it was a pretty interesting.
The largest winery, Patty Bogle owned the winery that she started with her husband, Chris. And Chris had passed on some years ago. And when Patty died too young, leukemia, and at that time she was the sole owner, and it was the largest winery on the planet owned by a woman.
Oh wow!
Yeah, her kids have it, and it's quite a tribute to their farm family that they were able to bootstrap it up and create this from a very modest beginnings, and it's still entirely family owned and operated. I think that's a difference, owned and operated on a day-to-day basis. All right, as is Peirano. Let's pour a little Peirano Chardonnay. This is another family. This winery dates back to the 1850s. So Giacomo Peirano came over like a lot of Europeans, thinking he was going to make a fortune panning for gold. He showed up a little late in the late 1850s, missed the gold rush, made it in time for the Civil War, bad timing all around. But anyway, he started a little mercantile that turned into the general store for the town of Lodi and started acquiring some real estate and planted grapes. And so we'll have a wine later tonight with grapes that were planted in the 1890s by Giacomo Peirano. Now his great-grandson operates it, a guy named Lance Randolph. So they have everything's estate, as it says from the name, Peirano Estate. And Lodi is a very unique area where a lot of people have been buying fruit for ages, and now there's a number of wonderful wineries there. This Chardonnay, I'd say the interesting quality is it's partially barrel fermented, which is normally something, again, I keep talking about the value in these wines. Normally when you start talking about barrel fermentation in Chardonnay, you can just, sort of double the price of what it would be. This is still very modestly priced, and their trick to getting complexity in the wine is they harvest it in two portions. They harvest part of it at a little bit lower bricks, and they leave the balance of the Chardonnay in the field for a full 3 weeks to develop the sugars fully and lose the acid. They ferment those separately, recombine them, a portion of both fermented in wood. So awful lot of technique and winemaker, sort of passive winemaker skills used in this. And wonderful vineyard site. These are on a trellising system that's unique, a double Geneva curtain that allows a lot of sunlight to get into these bunches and develop physiologically. So I think everything they make too is kind of funny. That you can tell the guy is like a farm background, because it doesn't matter if he was pulling from things that yielded a lot or little. He kind of thinks of it all in price per gallon, and all the wines from Peirano are the same price, whether it's a Zinfandel from vines planted in the 1890s or a Cabernet that's 50-year-old vines. It's all the same. What do you guys think of this Chardonnay?
This is classic Chardonnay.
Well, Steve, this is one of my go-tos. I ride this wine like a rented mule in Mexico. I love this thing. This is a wine, as you said. I've worked for Tryon, I think, for 8 years now, and I think we may have taken a price increase of like 25 cents in 8 years, which is just unbelievable. Which I really wouldn't even call it a price increase in 8 years. Think how many things have gone up, but as Steve says, over delivers. It has the flavor people are looking for. Richness, yes, a little of that kind of New World style, certainly. But as Steve mentioned, that balance, that nice acidity to it. 5 generations. Talk about one of the older family wineries in Lodi. I think probably one of the oldest, if and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong. And also too, Steve, you talked about the trellising system. Lance, the current owner, he kind of developed that, right? I think he was a pioneer.
He was one of the West Coast first people in the West Coast. I think Geneva double curtain was developed at Cornell University, but he was the first guy to introduce it on the West Coast. And there's a lot of TLC into it. Again, something else I should mention, because all the grapes at Peirano Estate are hand harvested. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but on wines at this price point, highly unusual. It costs over $1,500 an acre to hand harvest grapes, and usually they're going through 2 and 3 times to get things at optimal ripeness. The same piece of land machine harvested would be like $400. So it's an awful lot of extra expense and care put into these wines. But all of the wines are entirely hand harvested.
Wow. And that's hard to believe, because we've been drinking, throughout the show, lots of Chardonnays from kind of all over. And, not every one of them, those, that we maybe get to price points of mid-20s or even hand harvested. So to get that, and now I'm gonna put the sales hat on here, for $14 tonight. that's a great deal. Plus, when you get your club discounts on top of that, and you got Steve throwing in the
Little spiffs.
brand new amazing butler's tool there. That's amazing. So, and someone just asked, is that corkscrew coming to have a holster? That's what somebody.
Yeah, it does, man. It does have a holster. That goes through your belt loop there.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yes, and so it does have its own holster. So I'll tell you the case right there. You're going to get the corkscrew in a holster. Get ready to, as we talk about these wines, put together a case tonight, and also we drink our wines by the gallon. That is true. The people who watch the show and buy from the show, Steve, they like to drink their wines. So
we need to up our gallon. I mean, we talked about earlier in Giacomo Peirano and Italian. Steve, we did an Italian dinner about a month ago, and I looked up just for tidbits. Italians drink 13 gallons a year. Americans, we're only 3 gallons. Now, of course, people laugh at a wine dinner because these are people that drink wine. But I'm like, hey, guys, there's a lot of PBR drinkers out there that are really diluting our average, man. We need to kick it up, man. I mean, hey, I don't mind a good cold beer when I'm mowing the grass, but we need to kick our averages up, right?
This is absolutely true. And again, this is why I'm a little bit of an apostle for what I call Tuesday night wine, because the reason that places like Italy and France and Greece and Australia, and you can go down the list, and Spain and Portugal, is you have nice, high quality wines that are affordable, that people can open. You can't build a nation of wine drinkers on $50 bottles of wine. You have to have excellent wine that's available at all price points. So I'll keep coming back to that. These are part of the solution to having wine become more the norm in every household. So there's that Bible verse, not to get too far, but where there is wine, there needs be no physician, right? Like wine is health, and
zones, right?
Mentally, physically, countries that drink more wine are just happier, healthier places. So here,
Italian women from Sardinia, right? They're like 100 just by those blue zones, like you said, right?
Well, I was going to say, there's affordable wines, and there's affordable wines that are done with care and hand. I mean, we're just talking about hand picking these wines. This is not a thrown together, hey, we're going to throw a label on it and we're just going to market the heck out of it kind of wine. This is winemakers who care about what the wine tastes like, care about what's in the bottle.
And the barrels too. I mean, again,
and the barrels.
I have anyone to find.
Let's take off the sales hat and let's get into the red wine, because for a lot of the people that are watching, I mean, the first obligation of a wine is to be red. So
we do the Zin first, or we do the Zin, the Cab, Petit Syrah. What do you think?
I think that's great. So we're going to talk about Zinfandel for a minute. So we're having 2 wines here. We're having a Zinfandel, and then later we're having a Petit Syrah. And these are significant to me, as I think they should be sort of significant to everyone culturally, as America's heritage grapes. These are the vinifera grapes that from the 1860s up through Prohibition and beyond, and even now, some of 100 years old vines planted on their own natural roots, that really reflect the history of the immigrant experience of growing grapes and consuming wine in America. Zinfandel sort of famously was introduced by immigrants, including a famous Hungarian guy named Count Hazarthy, but by people famous and not famous, because it's been traced genetically to Croatia and to southern Italy, but as Zinfandel, it's almost uniquely American. And if your grandfather, your parents, depending on how old you were, drank like Mountain Burgundy from Inglenook or something, you'd see those bottles when you were a kid. It was usually some blend of Zinfandel and Petit Syrah. up through the mid 70s, Zinfandel was Zinfandel is still the third most widely planted grape in California, and up through the mid 70s was the most widely planted grape in California. And Petit Syrah was also very significantly planted. Now, Cabernet, more elegant, and good promoters like Mondavi came into the business and had Napa and premium areas compare themselves to the grape varieties in Bordeaux and other premium European areas. And the Zinfandel kind of fell out of favor. It was probably saved from being torn up by that little white Zen phenomenon in the in the 80s and 90s. But anyway, the grapes in this particular planting are the original grapes that were planted in 1895 by Giacomo Peirano, and they still exist. These vines are that old, over 130 years old, and they produce small clusters now. And you would ask, how is that possible? How is there some organism out there that's this old that's relevant? And how can they sell it for this price and put it on my table? The soils in Lodi are almost all sand. And Lodi was part of a shallow sea up until a recent time, geologically speaking. And the thing that usually takes vines down after a certain point is this little louse that lives in the soil called phylloxera. And phylloxera can't survive in sandy soils. So for sort of just a pure accident, the things that are planted in this sand, they're resistant to phylloxera, and also the sand of all soil types has the least nutritional value. So it slows down the natural biorhythms of the plant and extends the life of the plant. So for this reason, you have this living history in your glass of a vine that's been tended by 6 generations of people. All these people that have been pruning this thing for, all these generations, still producing grapes for us to enjoy today. And also unusual, these vines are planted on their own roots. Seldom discussed, virtually all commercial vines are vinifera varieties planted on the root of a Native American vine or a hybrid vine that's more disease resistant. But these vines were planted before that technology and knowledge was available. So they're planted, sort of as intended on their own roots, and they're a complete organism. So Zinfandel, old vine Zinfandel and old vine Petit Syrah and those type of things are fascinating culturally, culinary, and historically. So
well, Steve, I broke into this a little earlier for dinner, and so I love Zin, love Lodi Zin. I can tell you right now, if you're looking for the nice dark berries,
some mocha in there.
Mocha, this is. To me, I think we need to be drinking more Zin. I don't know if I push it a lot in the shop because it is such an easy drinking wine. And
it's the heritage grape. I always say, it's something I try to break at least one ball out during July 4th, and I,
you look at the people that swim in these waters and produce premium Zinfandels, the Turley, Ridge, Rosenblum, really exalted American wineries. And I mention this to people frequently. If you're open-minded and a value shopper, you can get the finest example of Zinfandel on the planet for $35 or $40, and you can get exceptional Zinfandel for $15 to $20. And if you want to get Cabernet at those price points, you're kind of just getting the training wheel stuff, You're not getting premium examples from those same areas. So it's a great way to experience some of the best wines on the planet of that type, is just to, get comfortable with those varietals. Anyway.
Well, and to Steve's point, if for anyone watching tonight, that gets to go to wine country, driving along, and one says, head trained vines or something like that, and you look over, it looks like just a bunch of bushes, like just a, like some almost like shrubbery almost. You can almost tell the vines planted 100+ years ago. And again, Steve said, certainly, Snappa, Sonoma, I'm sure there's a vineyard or two here or there that they still have, and that they'll charge arm and a leg for. But places like Lodi, specifically like Peirano, with this Zinfandel, I mean, as I said, this is something that just exudes. I don't even call it old vine. I call this ancient vine because old vine is 40 to 50 years old. Once you get past 80, 90 years old, I mean that's ancient vine, right? I mean, I think that's kind of, we need to reclassify that, but just absolutely over deliver for the price point. For $14 bucks. I mean, that's unbelievable.
It's so good.
It's out there too. The traditional methodology for these vines, the way they were planted, is what they're head pruned, and in particular, they have a style called the goblet. So if you put your hands like we've all seen those pictures, and at the top of the vine is like this. You can kind of tell when they were planted because if you head prune, the technology, low tech as it was you would lop it off around your waist level so that when you were doing the work, harvesting, pruning, everything was right around your waist and it wasn't such a strain on your back. And you can kind of tell a vineyard that was planted in the 1880s from one planted in the 30s and 40s because these immigrant families would come, and oftentimes the guy in the family would be from Sardinia or southern Italy, and the first generation would come and they would be 5'1", right? And so the vines are like 3 feet off the ground, lopped off. And then by the time their grandkids have been over and they've had different nutrition and different intermarriages with other people, and the people are 5'10" and 6'1", and you can kind of tell the vines planted then are a foot taller because there was taller people out working them. Right. So it's kind of interesting, the practical aspect of these. And you find great pictures on Lodi or just old vines in websites, and it's usually it's in a goblet formation. So the vine finishes like this, individual spurs, and it allows a tremendous amount of sunlight to get to the entire plant and into the bunches. And this Mediterranean climate in Lodi is perfect for grapes that like warmer weather, like Zinfandel. I mean, if your original heritage was Croatian coast and southern Italy, you're a grape that likes Mediterranean climate, right? So Zinfandel likes it warm. That's one reason, like East Coast, wet, colder places, you can't grow Zinfandel but it's very specific areas. So anyway, yeah, Zinfandel is a fascinating history.
Yeah, fire pit and like burnt cheeseburger wine, grilled vegetables. I mean, I just always loved it. But again, Steve, I'd say it even if you weren't here, man. This Peirano across the board over delivers. And again, when you think of Lodi, it's really Petite Syrah and Zin that exude. But then once you start researching, you're like, oh my God, they make a Chardonnay that's barrel fermented that I can get for $14, or oh my God, they make a Cabernet. You guys
are touching on food pairings a little bit there with the Zin, and again, back to like everyday wine. I think Zinfandel plays a lot better with tomatoes and tomato sauces than Bordeaux varieties, than Merlot or Cabernet. Tomato sauce will make Cabernet taste a little metallic. Zinfandel descended from Italian grape, from Primitivo. It plays really well with tomato sauce. And what do we got? What do we eat like midweek? Especially, my kids are a little older now, but it was like cheeseburger, Domino's pizza, whatever that night, and you're reaching for a bottle of wine. It was Zinfandel, cheeseburgers off the grill, takeout pizza, whatever. That wine just goes with the way that people eat.
I had spaghetti and meatballs today, so that's why I was like, oh, yeah. And we have a great price on it at $14 and get your club discounts on top of that. We're talking 100-year-old vines. We were talking about 100-year-old vines Tempranillo, and we're talking $160 last week. This week we're talking.
Let's do the math. I mean, you said 1890. It's 2020. 130 years old. I mean, that's crazy. Wow. That's unbelievable.
So definitely throw some of those in there. You can be able to get that again if you order a case. You're going to get a awesome wine tool
with a holster.
With a holster.
It's going
to be incredible. You know. But before we go on to the cab, we're going to talk about Juggernaut for 2 seconds. Let's talk about Juggernaut for 2 seconds. I have the Pinot Noir on sale right now. It's on the website. So if you scroll down from where the wines for tonight in virtual wine, there
it is, man. The big rabbit lion.
Backwards like that, like us. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, which way?
Yeah. And so we're going to put together, if you order a bottle of the Juggernaut Pinot Noir, we're going to put together a prize pack, and everybody who orders a bottle gets entered in for that prize pack. We're going to get a tote. You're going to get a wine tool. You're going to get a T-shirt. Look at these.
Oh man, those are super comfy tees right there. My
super
wife
soft.
One. I should say I had one, and she's like, she took it immediately.
Look at that, so good. So that's a little incentive that Steve threw in for you guys to buy some Juggernaut Pinot Noir. We'll keep on telling everybody about it.
If we didn't make the connection clear, Juggernaut is the reserve level of Cabernet and Pinot Noir from Bogle, from their 1,600 acres that they farm and they own, and the other 40 growers they work with. They take the very best Cabernet sites, four Cabernet sites that they get on hilltops and make the Cabernet. And the Pinot is from a single vineyard in Russian River that's very exalted, and the neighboring properties sell wine for some metric more than what we get for the Juggernaut, but that's okay. That's okay with us.
That's all right. Well, that Russian River Pinot Noir will go great with Thanksgiving. That's why we're doing the deal for you. So go on to the website when you're there. Grab yourself a bottle, because that's going to get you a chance to get a nice little prize pack. Thanks, Steve, for throwing that in as well. Now let us drink some Cab.
You think Cabernet probably before we go on to the two petites?
Yeah. Cabernet, man.
Do it. That's what I was thinking. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I never know, because I had a Austrian in my car time many moons ago, and he has red and white wine. He insisted on doing the white or the reds before the white, so I'm like, all right, that's totally fine. So Cabernet, baby.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, don't need any introduction for Cabernet Sauvignon, and this is a great example. Again, estate grown, obviously, because it's from Lodi, from these guys at Peirano Estate. But this has got almost 2 years of oak, really low yields, hand harvested. They use 3 different fermentation methods. It's 100% Cabernet, which is a little unusual. Usually they're blended with some other variety, but they wanted a pure expression of Cab. So it's Cab right over the plate, right down the middle. And to get complexity, they use 3 different fermentation methods. They use a cold soak, a static fermentation, a rotary fermenter, recombine these parts, age it in small oak, and there you have it. Which vintage? We have 2017 available, and it's drinking beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is something, typically, like you said, California, you have those areas that are known for those high, pollutant anti-cabs, and I would say Lodi is an area that over delivers, and Peirano, again, great Zen, as you mentioned, the Cab. I've had several restaurants. Unfortunately, Southern Lights, rest in peace. Many moons ago, we used to do this by the glass. They probably went through at least about at minimum a case a week, even during the slow weeks. And people just absolutely loved it. This delivered price. It fits what you're looking for. I mean, it's as Steve mentioned, it's got the oak, without being too oaky. It doesn't strip the enamel off your teeth. It's got a little this kind of savory component, this kind of savory, spice in the background, almost like a little bit of this like fennel. But a beautiful, beautiful little Cabernet, I think.
It's quality, man. These are 50-year-old vines. For a long time, they sold these grapes to Burgess Winery over in Napa, and they would meter that into their Napa Cabernet. But they've been bottling it on their own as their own varietal at Peirano now for about 10 years. And it's delicious.
That's good.
It's so good.
Well,
So good.
and Steve, before we move on to the next couple, one thing I wanted to ask you about Peirano. I think I read somewhere, when Giacomo came to America, and I'm sure it wasn't uncommon for people of the day, but he basically was like, okay, I'm coming to America, and left his wife back in Italy and was like, I'll come back for you when I can. And when he got the mercantile store and it started being successful, he went back. So I'm just thinking I couldn't be, my wife would freak out if I was gone for more than a couple of days or a week. And like, hey, I'll see you when I can see you, like 4 or 5 years later. I mean, that's just crazy, to think
that is a true story, but the world was different. And this guy went to go make a fortune in the mining camps in Northern California, which from what I understand was no place for a lady. Right.
Yeah.
Once he's established that store, and long story longer, that store existed until pretty recently. And I had a really rare, so I'm going to do some name drop now, but I was by my lonesome one night and went into Alice Waters restaurant there in Berkeley. I'm sitting at a table, in walks, and I'm headed out to Peirano to start my business relationship with him. And in walks a really elderly guy and his wife. They sit down beside me, and it was Robert Mondavi and his wife, Ingrid Bickler. So we get chatting. They wanted some company. We slapped our tables together and talked for a couple hours and had dinner. And I told Robert Mondavi where I was going and who I was going to see. And he spun me some good stories. He grew up, a lot of people don't realize this because he made his fortune in Napa, but he grew up in the town of Lodi. And when he was run out of his family business, Charles Krug, the family, all they gave him was the original property in Lodi, which is where he built Woodbridge Winery. So Robert Mondavi grew up as a little kid in the town of Lodi. And he was telling me stories about during the war collecting like scrap metal and bottles and taking them to the Peirano general store, and Mr. Peirano would give him a few pennies to buy candy when he was a kid. And he'd known that the family since he was literally a small child, and they had formed the Lodi Grape Growers Commission together, the Mondavis and the Peiranos. He had a lot of fond memories of them. So it's the Peirano is definitely a very touchstone Lodi family that's again been there a long time and been interwoven into the history of the region.
That's awesome. That's awesome. God, what a story, Steve! You never told me that, man.
Wow.
Hey, dude, I got more.
The memoirs of Steve.
Oh, boy.
Steve. Yeah, I'm buying at least 10 copies and getting them all signed, right? So. But yeah, Peirano guys, again, I really can't say it enough. It just, over deliver, capital O, everything they do. And as a wine salesman, there's so many wineries, especially in the New World. You don't get the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations like when you're very common, right? And ultimately, it's about name integrity. These guys would much rather call me up or call Steve up and say, hey, you know what? Cabernet's down this year. We made 20% less. That's just what we're going to do, and instead of kind of going out and then, slapping some stuff together, which, those unscrupulous folks do. So again, I think both of these brands personify it, no matter what the scale, whether Peirano being this kind of super little kind of boutique tucked away thing or Bogle being kind of literally a juggernaut of what it is. I think both these wines really exude that. So a little petite Syrah.
So we're going on to this guy, right?
Let's do it.
Well, let me give a little price update to everybody. So that Heritage Cab, $14. Again, like we said, all the Peirano stuff is line price. So $14 on that. Go over to Lodi Grape, put a couple in your cart because for the holidays, 50-year-old vine cab from Lodi. Folks, I really come on. We could be talking about $30 or $40 cabs for that for that kind of
let's just say
vintage.
tonight, it's going to be the wine, the cost of the Zin and the tea. People are going to forget about it. You guys are going to forget. Throw a bottle in your cart, throw 2 bottles, and you're going to come back and say, Danny, you know what? Oh my God, I think I found my new house Cabernet. I mean, that is a house Cabernet right there.
You got to keep the really good $15 Cabernet around so that all your visitors don't suck down all your $50 Cabernet, man.
With this $50 Cabernets that we're drinking, this is absolutely stunning.
It's good.
It has complexity. It has layers. It is delicious. So don't sleep on this tonight, folks. Not at 14. You know there's going to be somebody who comes over for Thanksgiving that said, hell, you got a cab, even though it's not going to pair great with everything on the table. They're just cab drinkers. This cab right here, they're going to think that you opened up something a lot more expensive than what you did. And they're going to be you and going, where did you get this? You're going to say the loaded grape, and they have it on sale right now. So go get you some. But you want to get at least build up a case tonight because you're going to really want that awesome corkscrew with its own holster. So let's go. Build that case. And again, the Juggernaut. If you want in on the Juggernaut Pinot Noir giveaway package that we're doing, you got to throw at least a bottle of the Pinot Noir in there. Russian River. It's going to pair perfect with your Thanksgiving dinner. So do that. So let's move on. So
that's right, dudes. Let's talk about. Everybody here is cab drinker. They know cab. Let's go talk about something that's like,
petite.
A little back alley here. Let's go talk about Petit Syrah. All right. This grape, I've had a long love affair with Petit Syrah.
Steve, I'm sorry to cut you off, but look at I poured a little bit of this in my glass. Just everyone look at the color of this. I mean, look how inky. I mean, and dark. I mean, and it's never do it justice, but this is like purple. Look how purple that is. I mean,
it is. It's a beautiful, deep fuchsia color. It's beautiful on the vine. It's beautiful in the glass, and it's just another old school grape. It would have been planted by Portuguese, German, Italian, Hungarian immigrants in the North Bay area and throughout California. Often these things would be planted in a field of what they would just call mixed black grapes. And they would have Zinfandel, Alicante Bouchette, Charbonneau, Mondouse, Valdiguet, Zinfandel. All this stuff would just be interplanted in there. And they would make field blends out of it. And it would make wines that were reminiscent of wines from Mediterranean Europe. So Petit Syrah kind of came out of the pack and has survived a long time. It was originally developed as a cross between Syrah and a grape called Pelorson by a guy named Dr. Derif at the University of Montpellier. And Derif is still planted in some degree in France, but as Petit Syrah, it really rocked and rolled in California once it got here, and still it's kind of on a comeback. It's like becoming fashionable again. Up through 1976, which seems remote to some of you, but I've got the gray hair to show. That's about when I got in the wine business. Not too long after that, Petit Syrah was the most widely planted grape in Napa Valley itself, and you had advocates like Stag's Leap Winery that had still carried the torch for Petit Syrah, but had an awful lot of it planted. And that was the first year in '76 that Cabernet overtook Petit Syrah. So it's been very popular for a long time. The old school was sort of advocates for Concannon, very famously for many generations, Parducci, Fapiano, and Bogle. And these days, Bogle is the largest producer of Petit Syrah on the planet. Very proud of it. They're in an area that's considered just a natural hotbed for Petit Syrah in the Delta region around Clarksburg, California. It's just great climate for it. It's kind of a tough thing to grow, but more people are coming back around to it. At one point, there was 14,000 acres, let's say, in California in the late 70s, and then it dipped down to about 4,000, and it's back up to 11 because you have a lot of very premium, prominent, fashionable producers now, like Turley, Schaefer with their Relentless blend, Orrin Swift, the Machete, a lot of those blends. Wagner family has got they label it Derif, but they have a Petit Syrah project. Ridge and Rosenblum still make one, Matt Klein and his family. So you have a lot of really famous and very talented winemakers that have incorporated Petit Syrah again. You have premium vineyard spots in Napa like Rattlesnake Ridge, where Barnett makes Cab and these other people that produce Petit Syrah up there, and Turley makes Petit out of it. So you have those very premium ones, and then you have this incredible example of Petit Syrah here. And again, it's very, very reasonable. And Bogle farms a lot of it themselves, although they buy some fruit in Solano and Lodi and up in El Dorado counties to make this.
Well, I'm so glad we, proceeded or Cabernet before this, because as you said, Steve, this was always known as the poor man's Cabernet. And in fact, when you talked about Napa, I mean, for years, this was always the thing where they would label it, or at least, by the time the mid 80s came around, they would label it Cab because they could get more. But in the background, they're putting Petit Syrah because people want to see the color and that deep, dark kind of flavor off of it. And then, like you said, unfortunately, it fell out of favor. It's coming back now, but hey, it's coming back. But Bogle, guess what? These guys have kind of kept it going all along. It didn't replant and rip it up. And so now when like red blend, as you mentioned, are so hot, there's not a lot of Petit Syrah to be had on the open market in California. I mean, the price just went up dramatically.
Oh, it's a very the grape it's valuable now to have Petit Syrah plantings, and people have rediscovered it. But it's still, you can get a great example of Petit Syrah for a great price. And it's another wine that I call a carnivore's wine, if you keep around, because it's really bursting with a lot of boysenberry, raspberry, red fruits, and it just goes. It's got a lot of color, but it's not very high in tannins. It's seldom treated with a whole lot of oak, just neutral oak. And if you got some caramelized fats from cooking on a grill, this usually will pair up pretty nicely with whatever you're doing. I'd have it with pork chops and stuff like that all the time, because usually you've introduced some sauce that has some sort of berry like this. Yeah, Syrah. Kind of funny, like the other country that has
might be a future tasting. Syrah.
Yeah. Alita, thanks for your comment. And the Australians are now the country that has the second most plantings, because they've discovered this is a great variety to blend in with Australian Shiraz as a blender in their country. So it's come around. So I hope you enjoy this. Bogle is actually, again, the largest producer on the planet. Really, the winemakers and vignerons there take a lot of pride in it, and I keep this around all the time.
Well, and so much so, Steve, the bottle, I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, the bottle, they have a patent on this bottle shape or something. I know it's kind of similar to other bottles, but I'm sure patents are, maybe one dimension or 1 degree off. But didn't you say something they patented this style of bottle?
Yeah, that's a unique bottle to Bogle. But bottle's cool, but the wine is
wine is so cool. Yeah, this is if you want to impress your friends and throw this in their glass without telling them and let them drink on it, they're gonna go, this is really good. What is it? And you're gonna say it's Petit Syrah. And they're gonna be like, what? Yeah, this is really good. Again, another great deal price on this at $14, plus your club level discounts. So don't forget to put that in the checkout coupon code there. So if you're in the Cellar Club, Cellar, Estate, or Reserve, or Grand Reserve, you'll write Reserve in there to get your club level discounts. This is
Yeah, this is what I've been drinking here. It's really silky. You let it sit out for half an hour. It's just very soft tannins. It's a nice drink.
Yeah. So not heavy tannin, but definitely not lacking in the nice. I don't want to say it's fruit forward, but it does have some fruit there. Like you said, the kind of the red berries that kind of shine through. Just stellar.
Well, honestly, I was thinking in the back of my mind, and certainly a carnivore's wine, but I'm thinking get a big portobello and just like a nice balsamic, just so griddle glaze and grill like a nice big portobello on a brioche with like maybe some like roasted red peppers or something like that, and like a nice slice of cheese. Because I'm thinking with this dry, for some getting that balsamic vinegar, that reduction of those red fruits, savory, all those kind of like overripe, sweet fruits. But I'm telling you guys, if you don't put at least a bottle or two of this in your there you go, the King, the Kong of Petite Sirah. Yeah, I'd probably put a few of those up in the shop. At least in the bathroom, maybe, right? What's that?
Oh man, it's good.
It's good to be the king. There you go.
That is awesome.
All right, last one. This is from the latter days of the king. You can tell.
Oh wow.
That's
there you go. Nice.
That's the fat Elvis. That's the last day.
Can I tell my favorite Elvis joke?
Sure.
Okay. Steve, do you know Elvis's last hit?
No, man. What is it?
The bathroom floor. Too soon? Too soon?
Hey, man. Love me tender, brother.
And just put this out there. My son's birthday, January 8th. Guess who? The king.
The king.
So I'm like, hey, shares the king's birthday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we got now? We going to the port?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And guys, I figured we're going into the fun, funky, the dark side of the moon B-side track of the night, because I don't get a lot of this wine, guys. And I know Steve will tell you guys they don't make a ton of it, but I love to incorporate this wine. This is like the Tootsie Roll after the dinner.
Show them the bottle.
Yeah, I want to bring out the bottle, but this is God. It's almost so tall. I have to show you. So a little nice wax dipped cork right there, hand waxed, and as the winemaker once told me, not necessarily look fancy, although it does look beautiful. He says, when you see something wax dipped by hand like that, you should say it was handled with love, handled with care, from the wine to winemaking all the way to the bottling. So, Steve, I'm telling you, this Petite Sirah from a port, and I know Danny is a huge port guy. This is something that, let's just go ahead and say, hopefully this bottle will last the end of the night, because they don't make enough of it. That's the problem.
It's a small production item from Bogle. We just make a few barrels, sell almost all of it in the tasting room. We have a couple of events over the winter. We have in February like a port and chocolate event where we probably sell half of the whole production of it. So North Carolina is one of the only states that gets some of this port. And we make it from Petite Sirah. It's from a single vineyard called Quick Vineyard that's within sight of the family home. And the way they make it, they take that one vineyard where they're going to make the port, and they leave it out there a month after they've harvested everything else, and let the grapes raisinate and get extra sugars and some of the water to evaporate out of the grapes. So they go to make it. It's kind of tough to get it to start to ferment because it's like so dense and sweet already, but they get it going. And then at some point they introduce California brandy that we make on property as well into there to bring it into balance. The introduction of the brandy immediately raises the alcohol and it kills the yeast. And so the yeast stop fermenting and leave the remaining sugar. So you have elevated sugar, elevated alcohol. Then they take this and they put it in oak for 28 months, for over 2 years. And then it's in these 500 milliliter bottles. And then it's hand bottled and then hand dipped in wax on a very small scale. I've been there. It's like the ladies from the bottling room will go out on a nice day and they'll get like those little burners like you had in your dorm room, and they'll just get a couple of pots of this red wax in these little bricks and put it in there and warm it up, and they'll just sit out there in the sun and dip the bottles.
Yeah.
And have a nice, tell some jokes and have a nice afternoon of it. And that's how that happens, because we don't make very much of it. It's a very small scale production. But if you like port, consider this. It's fortified wine is an art form that, I don't know, used to be a lot more of it in this country and probably globally. Again, it's a little out of fashion, but then when you do take the time to open a bottle and share it with friends, you're like, why don't I do this more often? You have to really think about it more. You have to sip it because it's higher in alcohol. Usually you share it after a meal when people are more reflective and everyone's sitting around, your hunger's been satiated, and it's time just to sort of enjoy each other's company. So it's a great way to finish an evening. I don't know, it's a little higher in alcohol, usually more associated with the winter, with a fireplace and a cold evening, because like anything that's got some extra sugar, it's got extra calories, you're biologically more wired to migrate to something like that in the wintertime. But I think port's a fun thing. This is a fun thing to share over the holidays with friends and family. And sort of, if you're a port drinker, get into it. If you haven't had a port in a while, stick this around. If you don't come back to it too soon, this wine will age up to, I'd say, 12, 15 years pretty easily too. Wow. So you can get a couple and stick one back. It's not terribly expensive, and but it makes a nice gift. I don't know. I keep one around all the time.
And with the wax cork on it. Steve, two questions for you. One, as people may watch, they go, okay, I opened a bottle. My husband and I, maybe we drank a little scotch. How long will it be good for after we open? And the second question, you get to travel around, or at least post pre-COVID. In terms of mixology, I know mixology is a big thing. I know for some folks it's sacrilege, but I've seen some of the best mixology places do a Scotia sherry, a Scotia port. Obviously, vermouth's a big thing. Amaro is a big thing. So maybe touch on that. How long, one, is it good open? And then two, maybe have you seen any kind of cool cocktails this might be in addition to being
all right, port does not, once you open most ports, especially ones like this, that are vintage dated, usually you need to circle back in a week, 10 days to get it at optimum. It'll be okay for another week or two after that because the alcohol is higher, so it keeps much longer than a table wine. But I like to do that. That's one reason that we sell it in a smaller bottle, in a 500 milliliter, so that you can get into it and come back the next weekend and finish it off or something. That's port. Sherry is a different story. Sherry, stoppered and kept in your refrigerator, can keep quite a while. And there's a bunch of wonderful cocktail recipes that incorporate sherry as an alternative to vermouth, or the old school sherry cobbler, which was like sort of the Cosmo of the country at one time. Let's call it 100 years ago. It was very popular. Those are fun if you go back into your cocktail recipe books. If you guys are like most COVID people, you like finally crack these cookbooks and bar books and all these things sitting in your kitchen a little deeper than you had time for. And sherry makes a great cocktail and keeps much longer, especially stuck in a fridge. And then Madeira, of course, of the sort of trio of fortified wine, Madeira is its own thing. You can open a bottle of Madeira, it ain't ever going bad. You can take a snort out of that, put a cork in it, come back to it 5 months later. The last glass is going to be the same as the first glass because it's already been baked. They've already done everything to it they can to alter the wine. When you get it, it's like it's the way it's going to be. So Madeira is a great thing to keep around. keep it up in your mountain cottage that you might only visit like, every 3 weeks or whatever. Keep the bottle of Madeira up over the stove, because you can just keep coming back to it and take all winter to finish it. It's going to be the same. Port's a little different, a little more perishable. That's why I said get your friends around, or look at your calendar and open it when you got nothing to do the next morning.
There you go. I love it.
This is a beautiful, beautiful port. We've been doing a lot of ports and sherries and vermouths on the show since COVID. Dinners as well, because we're trying to reintroduce it to folks. Because I think once they discover it, they are kind of shocked that they like it, because they go, "Oh, it's sweet." But done in the right platform, it accentuates the food. And you mentioned with chocolate, I can only imagine why you sell the rest of it, because this was some nice dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, or of course the classic British sort of thing that anyone would enjoy is blue cheeses, walnuts, that type of thing. A little cheese course after supper, or in place of dessert. That's a wonderful way to end an evening. So hopefully this inspires somebody out there to rediscover port or discover port, and it's a great wine for entertaining.
We got a great price on it, down to $18, which is an amazing price for something that's only 57 barrels produced. So we're not talking about a large production, very small production of this. So be sure to throw one of these in your cart, because I guarantee if you crack this open this holiday season with some friends around the right desserts and stuff, or cheeses, you're going to be very, very happy, because this tastes so, so good. I'd love to be able to share it in the shop, but at 20% alcohol, my license doesn't allow that. But it is very nice. It is probably in the top 5 of ones I've tasted, and we got to taste it last year when you were coming around, and I know we sold a bunch of it then, and it's
well, this has holiday written all over it.
Right it
This
does.
is a holiday gift.
It's a wonderful, wonderful expression. They put again a little TLC into it. It's off the home ranch, left to hang over 2 years in neutral oak. A lot of craftsmanship and technique goes with the agriculture in this, and a lot of tradition into making these fortified wines. There was a time in California that was a lot of the industry. That's what kept things going, was fortified wine, but before America became the sophisticated place it is now for wine consumption. You had that was kind of what floated the boat in this country, was people drank a lot of fortified wine.
Anyway, our founding fathers would.
Speaking about Madeira,
a
glass of Madeira, right?
A glass of Madeira. I mean, they went through barrels of Madeira at the White House back in the day when Washington.
Oh yeah, the guys sitting around writing the Declaration, and they were drinking Madeira. I mean, at that point, before you had really good storage, fortified wine was a defense against oxidation and spoilage, right? When you were shipping wine from Europe and it had this transatlantic voyage in a sailing ship, you couldn't just, you had to have some way to ensure quality, and thus the wines that traveled the best were ones that had was higher alcohol. So a lot of the early days of our country, people consumed a lot of port, Madeira, and sherry. That was it. So anyway, return to a little tradition. I thank you guys much for the opportunity tonight to visit with you.
Steve, I always love that. Again, hopefully, by this time next year, COVID will be behind us, and maybe we'll be doing this in person in the shop.
Yeah.
Hawaiian shirt. Maybe it'll be Hawaiian. Its price of admission is Hawaiian shirt. I mean, that's just it.
Yeah, everybody's got to wear their Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah. I think we're gonna do a promo and just come up with a loaded grape. I mean, you got the hats. I think the next step is we need to get the loaded grape Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah,
I will work on that.
Yes,
I will work. I got a guy, and I'm gonna call him, and I'm gonna say I need Hawaiian shirts, loaded, graped up, and we'll see what we can get. But Steve, thanks so much for your time and joining us tonight. And can you show for the folks one more time that amazing corkscrew butler's tool? I mean, it comes in its own,
comes in its own little sheath.
Yeah, a little sheath right there.
With a belt buckle on it. But anyway, because we were Winery of the Year, we do have these nice corkscrews. And they say, this is a hard thing to figure out. Say Winery of the Year.
Winery of the Year right there. But look at that wood handle on that.
Beautiful.
Anyway, it's a pretty nice corkscrew. That'd be a nice stocking stuffer gift for someone. And I've got Peirano corkscrews too.
Yep. That
we can put into the mix.
Yeah.
You guys. Not quite as fancy, but they're nice. And then you guys.
And if you buy any Juggernaut on the Pinot Noir Russian River, it's delicious. It's absolutely amazing.
Totes. You can go in and be responsible when you go to the grocery store. Throw your farmer's market. Throw your stuff in that.
Yep. So we're
gonna do really nice t-shirts.
Yeah, and those t-shirts are so soft. It's really soft.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that shirt right there. So we're going to have a prize pack for those who ordered the Juggernaut Pinot Noir. It's on the website. Just scroll down a little bit further versus tonight's show. I have a bunch of Thanksgiving wines that will pair for your Thanksgiving table if you want to throw those in there. But a case of the wines from tonight, you're going to get yourself entered in to win or to actually enter. If you order a case, you're going to get a corkscrew right there. And that's a $20 value right there. So add that, that's a great deal. And then if you order a bottle of Juggernaut, and that could be mixed in your case if you want, we'll put you in enter to win the prize pack for Juggernaut. So Steve always comes bearing gifts, and we appreciate it, man. I early on, I can tell this story really quick. Is we met Steve at the big Tryon wine tasting, and it was beer tasting. It was the beer tasting.
Yeah.
The big beer tasting.
And
shameless plug,
Doc's Hard Cider.
Doc's Hard Cider. And he had a pizza oven, and it started raining cats and dogs, and we were already talking to him about ordering in some wine to be able to get the pizza oven, and he just turns and goes, "Pack it up now, boys. It's yours, and we'll talk about it later." And it is just pouring down. Steve did not want to carry that to the car.
Yeah.
Me and Andy are sitting there trying to figure out how to get this big pizza oven into an Uber in the pouring rain. So yeah,
it worked out.
It worked out. So and one of our great customers won that and bought a lot of wine from us. So thank you so much, Steve, for supporting us since the beginning with gifts and for our clients and customers.
Thank you for all your support through the years, and congratulations at Loaded Grape for being such an integral part of the community in Greensboro. You guys are awesome. Thanks, TC. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Steve, have a good night.
Good night, man. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Well, man, every time we hang out with Steve, it's always a pleasure. I feel like
you take the wine seriously, not yourselves too seriously, and you got to refresh for that. I mean, you meet lots of people in the business. I mean, let's face it. I mean, some folks that come from their ivory towers, and we see them, right? I mean, we love their wines. You're like, do you get out often outside of the, and when they come to Greensboro, they're just like, oh wow, there's a, but Steve actually is a native UNCG grad, alumni, and loves Greensboro, and quite frankly, just brings us the goods. I mean, has brought. I mean, between Peirano and now Bogle has again just brought two fantastic brands for us to come to sell in the state. And I mean, Peirano. I mean, that's just
we
that
sell
brand
a lot
alone.
Of a lot of Peirano. I mean, we did it early on in Virtual Vines. Just did the single vineyard Zin for Peirano. Now we have the Immortal Zin tonight. But let's do a recap, and this way we can close out the show. Let everybody go hang out, watch a little TV here. So we start off the night with a beautiful, beautiful Sauvignon Blanc from Bogle. folks, at $12. Go ahead, throw a couple in your cart. This is just a great Sauvignon Blanc. Friends are going to enjoy it.
All those herbal notes, as he said, the gin of wine. I like that.
The gin of wine.
Botanicals like galore. I love it.
And folks, you get your club discount on top of it. It's absolutely delicious, and it will pair with stuff on your Thanksgiving table. So feel free to do that. Then we did the Chardonnay.
Speaking of mashed potato and turkey wine right here. I mean, oh my God.
Yep.
Got it.
Sorry, I can see it. Yeah, so this right here, folks, go ahead. Turkey, mashed potatoes, like TC said. This is just an excellent
Stuffing.
$14. Normally on the shelves at $16. Chardonnay drinkers, you are going to love this wine.
Absolutely.
Love it, love it, love it. You have friends coming over for the holidays, or you just want to
open a bottle of Chardonnay.
You're going to open up a bottle of Chardonnay, or even if you don't have it, you're like, I don't know, they're a drink. I don't have Chardonnay. What should I get? I'm going to be having this on the shelf at the Loaded Grape, and we're going to sell a lot of it from between now and the end of the new year because, folks, that Chardonnay is what every Chardonnay drinker is looking for.
And at $14,
$14
if you're
tonight.
In the Grand Reserve, and you're getting that like super discount, like guys, come on, that's why you're in the Super Club to get those discounts.
You're in it. And then let me hide that. We go. Then we went to the Immortal Zin. Folks, 130-year-old Zin vines for $14.
2016 vintage, guys, has a little age on it, right? I mean, hey, we're already on, I think, 2018 for some of my big Napa. It's like, as Danny said, I mean, this is a beautiful wine. He already. I mean, I thought
beautiful.
The bottle was already half gone when I got here. I mean, this
here's the thing: we had pasta, and little red sauce and meatballs and everything. And I turned it on. He's like, "Which one should we open?" I go,
"Hey,
the Zin."
This guy knows what he's doing.
This
guy knows what he's doing.
The Zin. So Tanya poured a little more for herself. So
love it.
So I'm like, yes, the Zin. It's going to go great with the pasta, and it does. And as Steve said, hey, this is your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night wine. This is the pizza. This is the pasta. This is the
coming
burgers.
From the Mediterranean, loves Mediterranean, cuisine, right?
It just goes together, and it just drinks really, really well. You got those nice dark berries on there, a little bit of a dark cherry, a little bit of a raspberry, a little bit of blackberry.
Not too hot though.
Not hot. Not hot.
Some people see Zinfandels that are too big, too jammy, too fruity. Those things. Yeah.
No, it is a beautiful wine, and at $14, you're not going to want to miss out on that. And then we did the Heritage Cabernet, folks. 50-year-old Lodi vines. 50-year-old Cabernet Lodi vines. I can't for $14.
Calling all Cabernet drink. This is your new house Cabernet.
House Cabernet right here.
This is the new one. You got to keep around. I get it. You don't want to keep, Robert Craig Affinity, even the Juggernaut Cab. You want to keep that maybe by yourself.
Yeah, the Juggernaut Cab.
This is the one. A few bucks cheaper. You're going to 50-year-old vines for under $14. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know what? For the holidays, you're gonna have some cab around because there's always gonna be cab drinkers. Go ahead, or even for your boss, grab it for your boss. This is a great price, $14. They're not gonna know how much you spent. Put it down and you go, hey, just so you know, it's 50-year-old Lodi Cabernet. He's gonna think you're
Well, I don't know what they like. Chardonnay, Cabernet, both of these, I think, were the same price. Estate vineyards. Barrel-aged 50-year-old vines, again, for, under $40? Under $40?
So 14.
So under $30 for a gift for the boss?
Come on, $15. Under 15. And if you get your club discount on that and the coupon code, you're getting even less than that. And then let's talk about Bogle and Petit Syrah.
Yeah.
The largest producer of Petit Syrah.
I knew they were big. I didn't realize that.
That is incredible. This wine is drinking. Oh, let me just tell you, if I have to fight over which one was my favorite, I'm having a tough time right now. But as much as I love Zin, that Petit Syrah would probably be right there at 1 or 2 for $14.
Well, the two heritage grapes, Zin and Petit Syrah, this Zin is unbelievable. Petit Syrah, guys, it's like the white buffalo. It's one of those things that people are just now I say just now, the past 4 or 5 years, rediscovering because the red blends are hot.
Yeah.
And you can find enough Zen on the market, you can't find a lot of Petite Syrah. And so these guys, if you want to find California Petite under $15, I don't know what else to say. I mean, these guys are industry leaders. I mean, these guys are, like I said,
Winery of the Year from Wine Enthusiasts.
Tried and true. Yes, tried and true.
Winery of the Year.
Yeah,
again, if you put together a case, you're going to get that awesome wine tool. It's a $20 value. So you throw together a case right now. We're not talking. I'm not breaking the bank here, folks, on a case. You're really going to be getting this case at such a deal. This is why we did this right here for the holiday. You can give these bottles a gift. You can use these bottles during the holidays. You're going to turn to me and go, man, not only that, but I have this really awesome wine tool that comes with its own, holder that you can put on your belt buckle if you're that big into, opening bottles of wine during I feel like I need this for my holiday party. Yeah. So I can be like, yes, I don't worry. I'm wearing a mostess. I don't worry. I got it. And then we're going to get to probably what is by far the.
It's like it's like Star Wars. I mean, this bottle is so big. I have to kind of do these numbers. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about that Petite Syrah port. 57 made. 57 of the very, very limited release, as he told you on the show.
Not every state gets this.
North Carolina is one of the only states that gets this.
Because of Steve.
Because of Steve,
he's a Carolina, guy. I mean, we're able to procure a little bit of this, guys. Again, this is something you open up, you stir on the campfire, talk whatever you want to talk about. But I'll tell you what. This will just accentuate it right here.
It is a beautiful, beautiful port. Almost like a little bit of blueberry on there. It has the dates. It has
for those port drinkers out there, and I failed to talk to Steve a little bit more about this, but I think it's more like a ruby port. So this is more like red wine beefed up, raisinized, like he said, without giving that like tawny. This isn't like your tawny port where you got that banana and that kind of apricot thing. This is more of that raisiny, cherry, reduced flavor. It's going to be hard once you guys open the bottle. I know it's a little higher ABV, but as he said, $3.75. If you got 4 people in the room, that they'll take a scotch. They're going to take a couple scotches more, and the bottle's going to be gone.
It's going to be gone. Yeah, it tastes so good. It is. It's probably going to be one that I will definitely be pushing at the load of grapes through the holiday season. Some point. Dan, I don't have any more.
And to be superficial, let's be like, hey, it's the holiday times. Hey, it's all about looking pretty, giving the good gifts. I mean, hand dipped. I mean, again, this is just something beautiful when you show up to someone. Hey, Cabernet, a little Chardonnay, maybe a bottle of this. Throw some chocolate in the basket, maybe maybe some cheese or something like that.
Yeah, this will hold up with the cheeses.
Well, you think of the price point. You're at 50 or so bucks. All these things all together. I mean, guys.
Yeah, you can put together a nice little package.
Yeah.
During the holiday, $18 tonight. Normally $20, which at the 20 is probably. Well, first of all, you can't find it. It's Winery only. Go ahead, search the internet, plug it in all you want. You're not going to find it. So $18 by far is beating the internet because you can't find it. I know, I tried. So you're not going to find this anywhere but the Loaded Grape because this is just not everywhere. And like I said, mostly. You're going to get at the winery. So unless you're going to California, but if you're looking for something really cool during the holidays, go with that.
Yeah. Bogle. I had Bogle. Wait a minute. I didn't know they make port. I never knew that. Right.
So head over to grape.com and do that and get those wines in your car. Again, if you get a case, you're going to automatically get the corkscrew butler's tool, which, folks, high quality. It's a $20 value right there, and that price is at $14 a bottle. Throwing together a case is not going to break the bank tonight. Again, we talked about one of the things we talked about was adding in the juggernaut Pinot Noir from the Russian River. delicious, perfect for Thanksgiving. We have a special price pack for that. So if you order a bottle, and I know Michelle's already done that, order a bottle of that, you're going to get entered into one little special price pack just for the Juggernaut Pinot Noir. So it doesn't hurt to throw that. You can throw that in the case and also be entered in to get the you buy a case, you automatically get one of those hand tools, which again, $20 value.
And
you're getting a hat. You're going to probably get you're close to a hat because 24 bottles get you a hat. You're probably already there for most of our folks. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and supporting us during the holidays. Next week, Christoph is here, and we're going to be talking Egal. Yes. So, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been using Egal a lot for some of the corporate tastings that I've been doing virtually. And
how's that 2016 Cote Roan you drinking right now? Like, is that just like smoking? Is that not just one you want to smash? Arsenio Hall is like, why didn't you tell me this cheese was this good? Like, why didn't somebody tell me that 2016 was going to be this good? I mean, I know Egal's good. Damn it! Why is the 2016 Cote Roan so good?
First of all, the price points are going to be really good, and I'm telling you, the drinkability of these wines,
we'll have a nice range, I think.
TC, everyone have we not? Every time we've opened up these bottles during the corporate tastings that we've been doing, the rave reviews, and I have people that don't even drink wine on these things. They're like, can I come by and buy a couple of bottles? I don't even drink wine, and that's the concept. It's just absolutely. So I said, TC, we really should do this on a virtual vines. Yeah. And he said, yeah. And he goes, Christoph. And I go, to have Christoph back? Sure. So, folks, for the holidays, you're going to love these wines. They're going to be at a great price. And I'm telling you right now, they are drinking so
and a good variety, guys. I mean, I feel like we're going to have some nice Cote de Rones. Maybe even throw a little Shetting up the pop. So I think a little something for everybody, for your budget shopper, or for your hey,
I need a present.
Well, hey, I mean, I think right now, the one maybe good thing, I don't know, maybe slight, I guess, silver lining in all this. I mean, if people are doing smaller gatherings, Thanksgiving and Christmas, it can afford people to open up nicer bottles. I mean, I know if I'm only going to invite 4 people, I want to probably open up something nicer than if I'm inviting 10, 12, 13, 14. So, hey, guys, if you're only going to have 4 or 5 people over or less, hey, this is the time to raid the cellar. This is the time to treat yourself. If you're only going to, be distance and we got to be away from family, hey, this is the time to treat yourself and be like, hey, you know what? We're gonna spoil ourselves while we got to do this too. So, guys, this is the time to do it. Egal, I can't say enough. Make sure you
Monday night, 7:30. I'll be posting the stuff tomorrow. So be sure to like it on Facebook so you're reminded to tune in next week. Again, Christoph's going to join us. Thanks so much to Steve for joining us tonight and letting us know about these amazing brands of Bogle and Peirano. And folks, don't forget, order a case, mixed case. That's fine. You're going to get that really cool Butler's tool corkscrew for that. And then if you throw in the Juggernaut Pinot Noir from Russian River, which will be awesome for Thanksgiving as a bottle to open this Thursday, you're also going to get entered in for a special Juggernaut. And again, Michelle's already in. I know some other folks will probably be in on that. Merchandising. So good night, and we'll see you next week.
Guys, keep on tasting. Thank you so much. Stay safe.